Savvy Gamer here, and today we are going to be whispering and kind of discussing and just rambling about some very big news in the F1 Formula One world that happened today on February 1st. I also have a cup of Turtles hot chocolate that I'm going to be drinking kind of periodically through this. But before we do begin, if you do like today's video, please like and subscribe and comment and hit the notification bell, all that good stuff to help support the channel. The more likes the video gets, the more it'll be able to reach other people, get promoted by the algorithm. So I did post a short earlier today, just as I kind of found out more information and just to kind of give an update of what was going on. So for those of you who didn't see that video today, big change in Formula One. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time driver, world champion, or world drivers champion, Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes at the end of the 2024 season and is going to Ferrari, Scuderia Ferrari, to drive alongside his soon-to-be teammate, Charles Leclerc. So, unfortunately for Carlos Sainz, that means he's out at the end of the 2024 season. He currently does not have a race seat for 2025. I believe his contract only goes until the end of the 2024 season. So Carlos is going to have to do a little bit of contract searching or team searching to see where he's going to race next year for 2025. Now, that being said, it has surfaced that Lewis did sign a multi-year deal with Ferrari. A lot of people didn't probably know that initially reading some of the articles or reporting some of the articles. But yeah, he's signed a multi-year deal with Ferrari. It is still unclear as to how long and how many years that is. But Lewis is returning 39 this year. So he is getting up there. Not quite as old as someone like Fernando Alonso, who we are definitely going to talk about later. But he is getting up there. He has spent the last, I think, 11 years or 13 years or something with Ferrari, with Mercedes. And yeah, he's done pretty well for himself. He holds, I believe he holds the record for most race wins by a driver. I think it's 102 wins with 103 pole positions. So yeah, he definitely is among the best drivers in Formula One. Now, a lot of the greats, like Mick Schumacher, oh my god, not yet, he's not yet the great, but Michael Schumacher, Kimi Räikkönen, Fernando Alonso, and many others that have driven for Ferrari, Niki Lauda, the list goes on, to drive for Ferrari. But he can join that group to finally drive at Ferrari. I know Lewis has mentioned that always thought about what it would be like to wear red, to drive for Ferrari. So now he's making it happen. Lewis hasn't won a race since 2021, I believe it is. I think it was December 2021. I'll have to double check on that, but I do believe 2021 was the last year that Lewis actually won a race. After winning so many races and championships with Mercedes prior to that. And with McLaren, when he drove for McLaren as well, he did obviously didn't immediately start with all these wins and championships, but did eventually bring a really good name to McLaren when he was there. Then he obviously went to Mercedes, where he's been ever since. So, one of the biggest things coming with this that I found out today, I mentioned in my last video as well, is that he only told Toto Wolff. For those of you who don't know, Toto is the team principal at Mercedes. What is it? Mercedes AMG or Petronas AMG F1 team. He only told him yesterday, so Toto has only known about this since yesterday, reportedly. But I do believe that. So I think it came as a shock for everyone. But at the same time, I've been looking the last couple of years, watching F1, and kind of contemplating myself if Lewis would stay with Mercedes, continually, now that he's continually not been winning races, and in that case not even getting super consistent podiums, because Red Bull has dominated and Ferrari has stepped up a little bit. Don't get me wrong, Ferrari is nowhere near where they should be, especially in terms of strategy in the car. But whenever the new car build regulations and everything came out, Ferrari started off strong. But I had a bit of a feeling as to Lewis would, number one, either retire, but I didn't think he would, because he's mentioned before how much he loves the sport and F1 and being there. But then I also thought maybe he would look to drive for someone else. For a time, I thought maybe after Daniel Ricciardo left McLaren, maybe that would open a spot for Lewis. Obviously not, now that Oscar is in that seat. But I had a couple of ideas where he might go, McLaren being one. I had a bit of a sneaking suspicion that obviously Red Bull not wanting him because they had Lewis, or oh my god, they had Max and Checo already. Aston Martin, after Sebastian Vettel announced his retirement, I thought Lewis could potentially go there. But I didn't see him going to anyone like Alfa Romeo or Alpha Tauri, now rebranding to, what is it, the Cash App Visa Red Bull. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'm not a huge fan of the new Alpha Tauri team name. And then obviously I wouldn't have seen him go to Williams or what he would want to be in. But yeah, I did have an idea or a sneaking suspicion that he might end up leaving Mercedes at some point, or just outright retiring. Now, there has been talk, or there had been talks, of Lewis potentially going on a sabbatical for a year to try to figure out what his next best option would be. But obviously that's not so. Now, with Lewis going to Ferrari at the end of 2024, there were actually talks that nothing had been signed yet, or before everything had been signed off, that Lewis, there were talks, rumors, that he might go to Ferrari before the start of this season in 2024, which I thought was nuts, because that would completely blindside Carlos Sainz. And then they would have to either take Carlos on a Mercedes, or someone else would have to swap. Like, it would just be a mess, I think. So, now that Lewis is going to be going to Ferrari for 2025, someone has to fill his seat at Mercedes. Now, there have been reports of Fernando Alonso's inner circle getting in touch with Toto Wolff at Mercedes. Currently, Fernando drives for Aston Martin, and he seems pretty happy there. Like, he did pretty good last season. I'm sad he didn't win a race, but you never know. Maybe this season. Now, what this means is potentially, now keep this in mind, this is just potentially, this is nothing confirmed, that Fernando Alonso could possibly go to Mercedes for the 2025 season and take Lewis's spot. I think that would be a big jump. Now, Aston Martin and Mercedes, in terms of the cars and the builds, in my opinion, are very similar. Like, they're in a very similar kind of standing. Yes, Mercedes has a great car, and so does Aston Martin, but neither of them are, like, super consistent. They always have their ups and downs. Like, they didn't consistently always come in like the top 5, all that kind of stuff throughout last season in 2023. So, if that does happen, that leaves a seat open at Aston Martin for 2025. Now, keep in mind, this is before the 2024 season has even started. So, many things could change between now and obviously the end of the season, when things might change again. But as of now, if Fernando went to Mercedes and the seat was open at Aston Martin, that could leave a spot open for potentially Carlos Sainz at Aston Martin, where he could potentially drive if things stay kind of as they are next to Lance Stroll, which a lot of people, I think, would be upset about. This is just my opinion, that I think people would be upset if Carlos had to drive with Lance. Lance did improve quite a bit, I think, this season, but I don't think he is where he should be, or close to where Carlos Sainz is. Carlos is a great driver. He has won races. Lance has not. Lance is just not there. He can sometimes have good races and sometimes not, but that could potentially be a pairing. Now, another posted earlier, my little short video. Is that someone that could fill the seat at Mercedes could be Alex Albon. He did really, really good in the Williams. For it being no Williams, I think he completely outclassed and outdid his teammate Logan Sargent. I don't think that is a really a point that is left up to much debate. I think most people would agree. But Alex Albon could potentially go to Mercedes 2025 if nothing else happens. Or if that's how maybe things go. Another one, which may be more likely, to happen, Mick Schumacher. I think he could definitely fill the role at Mercedes. He is the reserve driver right now. So I have a feeling that might be what happens if this whole Alonso thing doesn't happen. Mick obviously had his troubles driving for Haas. He had some decent performances, and then he had some pretty crap performances. He wrecked a couple of race cars. Not ideal. One of them costing over $1 million because he completely destroyed the car. But I think Mick, being at Mercedes now, has probably had a lot of time to improve and racing with a better car. I think he could definitely be a potential driver in their lineup for 2025. Now there's definitely other things that could happen. There's been talk, and these are just people's ideas. Not all of this has been reported by, any news or journalists or anything. Some of this is just speculation from F1 fans like myself. But Carlos Sainz, 2025, depending on what Red Bull does this year or at the end of 2024, if they do not retain Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz could potentially go to Red Bull because he and Max have raced together before as teammates. He did race for Toro Rosso before they became AlphaTauri, which was the Red Bull junior team. So yeah, he was one of the junior drivers, and I think he was a reserve driver for Toro Rosso or Red Bull or something. But yeah, him and Max raced together before, so it might not be an impossible thing to see the two of them race together again as teammates. Now that also comes down to if Checo leaves Red Bull. If he does leave Red Bull, Carlos isn't the only person that could fill that seat. There have been talks too of Daniel Ricciardo going to Red Bull if that seat is left open. Now we'll see how likely that is maybe after this season, if he manages to do fairly well this season, keeping in mind it is AlphaTauri, or now the Cash App, whatever. If he does well, he may take over for Checo if Red Bull doesn't retain Checo. So there's a couple of different ways it could go, or potentially Mercedes could take on Carlos Sainz in almost just a straight trade. It's not impossible, and it may happen. It's just going to be a matter of trying to see exactly what kind of happens between all these different other rumors and negotiations and stuff. First, it would basically have to or not. And it will be seen, probably in the coming months or by the end of the 24 season. And it will all depend on what happens this season, result-wise too. Like, for me, do I think Aston Martin is going to win a championship, driver or constructor? No. I don't think that the car is good enough. They have, a super veteran driver and a legendary driver in Fernando Alonso. Lance Stroll might help bring them some points, but he is nowhere near the caliber they need to help them win a championship with the two drivers, like with a good driver pairing. Do I see Carlos winning some races this year? Yeah, I do. I can see that happening. He's done it in the past. Do I see Lewis winning races? It'll depend on how the cars do, or how the car does, and we'll see through winter testing and the opening few races of the 2024 F1 season. As well, I think this is going to be a big year, like I said, for Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez, because if Checo doesn't perform like crazy well, or even like continually try to outclass or outdo Max, I think Daniel could have a position, or be in a position where he could take the seat of Red Bull. It's really going to depend on the car and how they drive. Obviously Max isn't going anywhere, but it would be nice to see Max have a little bit more competition than what he did last year. Like, I'm pretty sure Max won every race last year except for two of them, and one of them Checo won, and one of them Carlos won, if I'm not wrong. I can't remember exactly which ones were which, but still, it would be nice to see a little bit of a change on the podiums and for race wins, and just to give Max a little bit more competition. But there is a lot to be left up to chance and to negotiation and to see how the season goes. Like, there are a number of different scenarios that could play out this season. And throughout the season, by the end of the season, who knows how many moves could be made. I know Lando's not going anywhere, because Lando just signed another extension, or an extension. And Charles isn't going anywhere. And George, like, there's some drivers that definitely will not move. But it is to be seen what else will happen, kind of in this whole scenario and this whole thing, that I don't know if this maybe will spark kind of an idea for drivers to kind of maybe try to boost their performance this season, to see about trying to get into that Mercedes seat, or depending on what happens with Alonso. Like I said, there's like too many different scenarios that could happen to really say what will happen. But as well, I am excited for this season. I myself am a McLaren fan. I've pretty much always been a McLaren fan since I started watching F1. great history in the team. They've had great drivers. They've had good driver pairings. We've fallen off the podium, far too many times. But I do see us coming back at some point. I do like Haas as well. I do kind of like the underdog a little bit, but it'd be nice to see Haas win. Maybe not even win, but just get on a podium for once. But yeah, I have plenty of F1 knowledge and opinions, and I can ramble about this for hours. But I'm excited for this season, for what's to come. And I hope all of you are too, those of you who watch F1 now. And if you don't watch F1 now, there's no better time to start watching. I think if you do start watching it, you'll really enjoy it. If you want to get a little bit of knowledge about the sport and kind of learn some things and the drivers and stuff, watch Drive to Survive a little bit first. Now take that with a grain of salt, because there is a little bit of drama in the show that isn't actually on the track. Some of it is for the show. I 100% believe that. But if you watch Drive to Survive, you'll learn a little bit about it. You'll learn about the team, some of the drivers. You'll learn about some of the rules and regulations and all that kind of stuff, and some of the history in the last few years for what has happened. But check it out on Netflix, Drive to Survive, Formula 1 Drive to Survive. And then, if you can get a broadcast on, if you have like cable or satellite or whatever, and you want to watch them, you can do it that way. Or go to F1 TV and create an account, and you can subscribe and watch all the races, all the inside stuff, rewatch all the races from the past few years. It's great. I don't have it right now, just because we're in the off season, but with this season, I might get it again. I got rid of it for the off season now, but I think I might bring it back this year, because I miss watching it. But if you want to watch F1, there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So there's no better reason to start now. I'm going to stop before I go on for like another half hour. But exciting stuff happening in Formula 1. Big moves starting to be made. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Lewis to Ferrari thing, and what you think might happen. Will Fernando Alonso go to Mercedes? Where will Carlos Sainz go? Just go for it in the comments. I love reading the comments and hearing your guys' opinions and thoughts and all that kind of stuff. So by all means, do that. But as always, thank you so much everyone for watching. We will see you in the next video. And remember,